Hey guys, so today I'm talking about a garden, what I call a garden tonic that is a cure-all tonic. So it's one of the things I like to use in the garden when it's being severely attacked. My vegetables are starting to have more and more issues and I want to avoid using any harsh chemicals. So this recipe I'm going to give you today is completely safe. It is one of my favorite things to get things under control, and it's usually a late summer issue in my garden. So you can use this early in the year, but this is going to be something you're going to do about every week to 2 weeks, depending on how bad the issues are with things attacking your vegetables. So let's take a look at these eggplants and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So if I can get in here properly, these eggplants are starting to show some type of insect attacking them, and obviously using a harsh chemical is going to work a lot faster and have longer effects, but then that harsh chemical is going to end up inside of your eggplant, or at least on the surfaces of them. So I want to avoid doing that, but I don't know if I'm trying to get you a better view of it there, but there is something attacking the skin out here. This particular tonic or recipe that I'm talking about is something you're going to overspray your entire garden with. Now, not every eggplant is showing these signs. This one looks a little bit better. It's a beautiful eggplant. These are Japanese eggplants. So I'm going to head into the greenhouse and show you how to mix this up, and it's super simple, and it's probably a lot of the products you already have in your kitchen, most likely, but you can pick it up at the grocery store anytime and mix this up. And like I say, it has a pretty long shelf life. I would say you can keep it on the shelf for 30 to 45 days. After that, I would probably remix it. So guys, this recipe is super simple. It's super easy to put together, and you can get 3 of the ingredients from the produce aisle in your grocery store. But first I want to talk about application and applying it to your garden. You want to do an overspray, not a soil drenching. You want to do this on all the leaves as much as you can. This Miracle Grow sprayer is great, but it's made more for a powder, and it usually is about a 40-gallon sprayer. This particular sprayer here is a little different. This is a 6-gallon sprayer I picked up, and I think this is the kind you want to use, one that's not going to be going through a large amount of water. You want it to use up this recipe fairly quickly so you can do an overspray. So like I said, this is 6 gallons. I'll put a link to the description in the down below area. But that's what you want to do. You want to get one of these type of sprayers so you can do a quick overspray of your garden. You're going to have to do this in the worst time of the year, or if you're having a lot of problems with insects in your garden, you're going to have to do it once a week. So guys, as I said, 3 of the ingredients that go into this cure-all tonic are going to come straight from the produce section of your grocery store. I have a lot of mason jars around, the quart-sized mason jars in the greenhouse, so I just grabbed one. We're going to put a quart of warm water, not hot, just warm water in that. You're going to want 1 small onion, 1 jalapeno pepper, and 4, if I can get it here, 4 cloves of garlic. That's the produce side of it. Then you're going to need a teaspoon of vegetable oil and a teaspoon of Murphy's oil soap. Now the first thing you need to do is you need to slice your onion up into smaller pieces so your blender can get through it. Maybe I'm going to divide it into maybe fourths. Our blender doesn't have to work quite as hard to get this pulverized. We want it pulverized as small as possible. So we put our onion in there, our 4 cloves of garlic, 1 jalapeno pepper. Again, it's a teaspoon of Murphy's oil soap, a teaspoon of vegetable oil. Now we need to blend this until it's a very fine puree. We don't want any large chunks, but we're also going to let this steep in the warm water for about 2 hours. So let's blend this up and we will have our concoction ready to go. Now once you've did this about a minute or 2 on puree, you want this into a very fine puree. You want to put this into a pitcher, and then you're going to go on to the next step, into the warm water. Now you can use a nylon stocking, you can use a sock, but what you're going to do is you're going to pour it into a sock so you can let it sit for about 2 hours and let it infuse the water. I'm going to carefully put this sock, preferably washed, into our mason jar, and this is going to allow it to filter out any of the solids that might clog up our mason jar. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to top the mason jar all the way up to the edges with our warm water, and we're going to let this sit, as I previously said, for about 2 hours. We're going to remove the sock and then we'll go on to the next step. Now, after sitting for a couple hours, we're going to take half of our liquid, our tonic. We've got a lot of solids in here that would normally stop up the mechanisms of a sprayer. So we're going to use half of this in our 6-gallon sprayer. We'll top it the rest of the way with water and head out to the vegetable garden. We're going to do a general overspray of the entire garden. Now, what you're going to do with the remainder of this, I've got a particular type of sprayer I like to do. This is what you're going to do on a weekly basis. You're going to put it in one of these solo sprayers and give it a light spray. This is going to really cut down on any of the problems and become really a garden cure-all for your insect problems on your vegetables, cucumber, squash, whatever you got out of tomatoes. This will work great. But initially, we're going to do an overspray. I'll head out to the garden and show you exactly what I'm going to do there. Now, what I've done is I've topped it off with water all the way to the top. So our 6-gallon sprayer is ready to go. We're going to do an overspray of the entire garden, everything from A to Z. We want everything to the point of runoff, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with the remainder of the product we're using. Now, with the remainder of the product you have, the tonic you have in your mason jar, you're going to put it into a small sprayer like this. You're going to do about a 1 to 3 mixture. So if you have 1 cup left in here, you're going to do 3 cups of water. So it's just a 1 to 3 mixture. You're going to do this weekly from this point on. No need to do a complete overspray of the garden, but you're going to do spot spraying on whether it's cucumber, squash, whatever you're having problems with insects. And I would say, just go around the garden and look for aphids or any other insects. But if you're seeing holes in your cucumbers or squash, you absolutely need to do this on those plants weekly. Now, just a quick note, I mentioned it earlier, I've got 3 or 4 of these solo sprayers around the greenhouse. They're really great to use. I'll put a link to the Amazon listing in the description. But let's head out to the garden and we'll do a spot treatment on some plants that I know have some whitefly on it. Now, some of the easiest ways you can identify, you can look at leaves, see if there's holes being eaten in them. If some of your, like this pepper right here, you want to look and see if you see any evidence of some of the veining they can do, climbing on the outside of the peppers or whatever it is you have, and make sure. Now, another thing is you might see wilting. You might see the plant look like it's in distress. So just take our mixture and make sure you spray from underside of the leaves as well, because during the daytime, especially in the hotter times of the day, the insects are hiding on the underside of the leaves. So if you're spraying the top of the leaves, it's not going to be as effective. So you're just going up. You can see it's working great from that angle. And it's a heck of a lot easier than having to get down with a little handheld pump sprayer and try to do it manually. So that's what we're doing. And I'm seeing some white flies coming off there. So we definitely have some issues in the garden. But just remember, you want to do this early morning or later in the afternoon when it's a little bit cooler, so you can avoid any sun scalding on your plants themselves. So guys, as a final note, if you have any questions about any of my videos or about this one specifically, I ask you to please publicly subscribe, because I get so many questions, it's hard for me to answer every question. So if you're a public subscriber, I can filter the comments that way, and I know if you have a question, so it makes it a lot easier on me. It helps me, and so that makes me want to help you if you're a subscriber to the channel. So if you liked it, I hope you will like and subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Have a great day.